Hello, and welcome to Thursday Night Live. So on November 10th of this year, Robert F. Kennedy removed the black box warning off of hormonal therapy, primarily hormone replacement therapy for women, which is traditionally or had been traditionally prescribed for women who were in perimenopause and moving into menopause, as well as menopausal women. And when he did that, it created quite this backlash of commentary on things like Twitter and on YouTube. And I wanted to kind of talk about the science, especially if you're a woman and you're listening to this show and are considering going on hormone replacement therapy, and the pros and cons and the guidelines to have it be safe and effective for you. So women take hormone replacement therapy, or in the past have taken hormone replacement therapy because, all right, I got the glasses thing going on today, because it helps eliminate hot flashes, which is huge in, all right, I didn't really have hot flashes, but for a lot of women, hot flashes are big. Night sweats, it improves sleeping, it improves mood, they can improve energy and the overall quality of life of someone going through that change. But even after that, there's a benefit. It helps with bone health and prevents injury like bone loss. So, you don't break a hip, that kind of thing, as you get further on and later on into life. But they also found that it provides cardiovascular protection. It helps reduce type 2 diabetes, colorectal cancer by 20 to 30%. And so there are a lot of benefits for women to use this product, even though it's a pharmaceutical, later on in life. And so the question came up, and the fury came up, because one of the things that has been tied to hormone replacement therapy is the risk of getting breast cancer. And that's really the piece that I want to focus in on today, because when they apply a black box warning, it's kind of like the warning that they put on cigarette packs that say, using this product can cause cancer. And so a black box warning is a very similar warning that's not just on the paper, but it is graphically displayed everywhere so that you know the risk of the product. And so where the controversy came from was, what were his motives? Was he doing this as a positive step for women? Or was he being a sellout and minimizing the risk to increase pharmaceutical sales? And that really was the question I went into this research with. And so I'm going to present to you, what I found. And so before you make judgment, take a look at the science and decide for yourself. And again, especially if you are a woman in that period of your life. So here's the true risk profile. Fear about hormone replacement therapy, female hormone replacement therapy, which is providing the body with estrogen and progesterone, which are reproductive hormones, came from two major studies that found that hormone replacement therapy, HRT, was linked to an increased risk of breast cancer. And so when they started the study, after 5 years, they noticed this increased risk, stopped the study, and then put out this black box warning. And by that time, there were millions of women that were looking for relief. And at its height, there were 15 million women taking hormone replacement therapy. But after that black box warning came out, the numbers dwindled down to next to nothing. And so here were the studies. One of them was the Women's Health Initiative, and it was the largest randomized drug-controlled study. And it was launched in 1993, and it involved thousands of postmenopausal women. And so in that study, there were two prongs of it. One was estrogen plus progesterone, which had 16,000 plus women in it. And so in that study, you had to still have your uterus, so you couldn't have had a hysterectomy as part of that study. And one of the things that they found out was that that taking that regimen significantly increased the risk of invasive breast cancer by 24%, translating to approximately 9 additional cases per 1,000 for women. And so I did the numbers, and I have to just read this because I'm not a statistician. Okay, so in context, approximately 48,000 women, so this was a very interesting number, about 48,000 women out of a 15 million sample size population would be expected to develop breast cancer naturally over the course of a year. 48,000 women get breast cancer each year, whether they use hormone replacement therapy or not. Okay, but applying the risk rate of the hormone replacement therapy, it would be an additional 13,500 cases would be added to that. So, it would take it to like 50-something thousand cases of breast cancer. So what I thought was fascinating was that 8,000 women per year get breast cancer, whether they're doing hormone replacement therapy or not. So that was interesting. But they also did the same, as part of the same group, they had women that so the first one, they were doing estrogen and progesterone, and it was a synthetic form of progesterone that they were giving the women because that's what they did back in the day. Then they did another part of it, the estrogen only group. And the women that got the estrogen only were women that had hysterectomies and no longer had a uterus. And what they found was that they got a totally different set of numbers, and they showed a significant reduction, a 23% reduction in getting breast cancer, which is kind of counterintuitive right there. And so one of the reasons why progesterone is added to women that still have their uterus is that if you have unopposed estrogen in your body, it can accelerate and promote the growth of endometriosis or endometrium cancers. And so if you don't have a uterus, you can't have those things. And so there wasn't that piece of risk tied to it. So that was pretty interesting. Okay. But then there was another it wasn't a study, it was a controlled observation that they did. And this was the Nurses' Health Study, where they followed 121,700 female nurses for decades. And they confirmed, this observational study confirmed the current use of estrogen plus a synthetic progesterone therapy, and with the rising risk of invasive breast cancer. And then there was another observational study done, the Million Women Study, and this was out of the UK, where over 1 million women were followed, and they also identified the increased risk of breast cancer, confirming the association of the estrogen and the synthetic progesterone hormone. And so these studies, although observational and subject to potential bias, have been remarkably stable and consistent with the randomized Women's Health Initiative study. Together, they established that synthetic progestins are the primary driver of breast cancer risk increase in combined hormone therapy. And so it's not the estrogen, it's the progesterone. However, one of the things that many people don't talk to you about, and if you've gone to your doctor and talked to them about hormone therapy, they are just going to throw that synthetic, generic, progesterone at you. But the reality is, it really depends on what kind of progesterone you're taking, because it's not the progesterone that raises the risk, it's the type that's used. And where the risk comes in is if you're using that older synthetic form. And so for instance, and I have to try to pronounce this, medroxyprogesterone acetate, which is what was used in that Women's Health Initiative study, and then norithistolone acetate was used in the UK study, which even had a higher risk than the one in the Women's Health Initiative study. But what they found was the underlying mechanism is clear. These synthetic molecules are designed for greater potency and oral bioavailability, but they interact differently with breast tissue receptors than natural progesterone, potentially stimulating malignant cell growth and driving the increased cancer statistics. Blech. Too many big words. Anyway, but what they also found is if you used micronized progesterone, which is what they would use in like bioidentical hormones or natural progesterones, which is available by prescription. I'm going to say that again. It is available by prescription, and you have to ask for it very specifically because they just want to give you that synthetic stuff. Anyway, what they found is that it imposed little to no additional risk. What the number was 0.95, so less than a 1% increased risk versus 23% risk. And so this risk profile is dramatically lower than using this synthetic hormone. And again, if that many women are getting breast cancer without using hormone therapy, and you are getting a better quality of life by using the hormone therapy, is that 1% going to change anything really? But there are a couple of little caveats that they also found. Okay, so there's using the natural progesterone, the micronized progesterone, that's one piece. But they also found that women needed to get on hormone therapy within the first, like the first 10 years of menopause. And so they recommended that if you're like going to menopause in your late 50s, early 60s, that you go on it right away. Because one of the things that they discovered in that Women's Health Initiative test was that many of the women started the hormone replacement therapy were already older and had already been in menopause for a significant period of time. And they were also the women that were more affected by breast cancer. And so they have found that getting in on it and replacing earlier tends to work better. Okay, so I already talked about the risk. And so, I talked about the cost. And so if you get the synthetic progesterone, usually it's considered a generic. Most insurances, you don't pay anything. You pay the $4, whatever that nominal amount is, because it's a generic. If you get the micronized, it definitely is a bit more expensive. You can pay anywhere from $10 to $50 a month. But if that's something you want to do, if your risk benefit analysis says to you, I want to do hormone replacement therapy, I think that it's worth it. I mean, insurance does cover it. You definitely don't get it for free. But it will cover the bulk of the cost. And I think $10 a month or whatever is not that bad. They talk about, when I was doing the research, they were talking about, marketing challenges and distribution challenges, which I don't know how current that is, but then there's also the mindset. Doctors aren't going to sit there and recommend to you or prescribe to you the micronized. You have to like bring that to their attention and tell them that is what you want. You do not want the synthetic kind, because you heard it from Dr. Rita, and she said, don't take the synthetic kind. So, but again, addressing hormonal issues and, that life change that women go through, it is a challenging time. And I think having the information that you need in order to make a good decision one way or the other, whether doing hormone replacement therapy is good for you, I just want to give you the tools and information for you to move forward. And then just like coming full circle, this was something that I found very interesting, is that, the black box warning was taken off of hormone replacement therapy. However, the black box label was also taken off of, okay, so there are some people that contend that, based on statistics and of other prescription medications, the risk is a lot lower than getting a jab or something like that, of having some kind of an adverse event, which I don't really agree with that logic in particular. What I thought was interesting was that the black box label was also taken off of the synthetic form. And I didn't like that. And so, is it a money thing? Is it making it so that the pharmaceutical companies can get in another area? I mean, because hormone replacement therapy used to be a big money item, and it dropped once they came out with these risks of breast cancer, and they make you sign your life away in order to get it. But they also, in the same breath, didn't talk about this natural form of progesterone that you could take, that you don't get the same risk benefit. And I would have been happier personally if he left the black box label on the synthetic, but took it off of the natural. But that's not what happened. And I don't really understand that. So women, if you're listening to this and you're going through that change, or you're within a few years of having gone into menopause, it's not too late. Just ask them for estrogen and this micronized progesterone, and you should be good to go, and you'll have good bones, and you won't have hot flashes, and it'll be good. Okay. So that's my thing for today. Guys, I know that you're there, and I hope I didn't bore the heck out of you. But if you have a wife or a girlfriend that's in that period of their life, this might be a topic that you might want to share with her as well. You just never know. Anyway, so this show is brought to you by soulhealer.com. If you have questions about doing hormone replacement therapy or any other health issue that might be going on with you, drop me a line, go to my website, send me an email, and we can set up a time for a private consultation. And you might have thought about becoming a medical intuitive counselor, or certified energy medicine practitioner, and you can do so from the comfort of your own home by signing up for my medical intuition energy medicine training program, which you can find at appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. And if you want, you can download my free 50-page guide from the webpage, and it will get you started on your journey to opening yourself up to your intuition. Okay. And for anybody listening to this show in a recorded format, and you want to join the fun and festivities on Thursday night, the best place to go is my YouTube channel. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Click on the live link and join the fun. And I hope to see you, I would say next week, but next week is Thanksgiving, so no show next week, but I will see you in 2 weeks. That's justenergyradio.com. And before I start saying hi to everybody, please do check out my social media. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. Go to my Substack. I'm posting a lot on Substacks. Subscribe there. Twitter, Rumble, any of my social media. I would really appreciate the thumbs up that you might have for me and my work. Where am I? I disappeared. There I am. Okay. So let's go over to the chat area and say hi. I know people were here really early, and we're going to get started. All right. So first up is ERRT Radio. Hey, ERRT Radio. And he says, happy Thursday, Dr. Rita. You look amazing as always. Thank you. May I have a reading number 3, please? Thank you. You sure can, ERRT Radio. So what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? I get to go see my kids and my grandbabies, and I'm cooking as always. I'm very excited about it. Okay, let's see what we got going on. All right, that's your card for today. So ERRT Radio, this is kind of interesting. Your energy just seems a little disorganized here tonight. I feel like you would like to feel more grounded. Okay, I'm just going to say this out loud because they keep saying this to me. And this is gross. And so don't hate me for this, but they're like, well, if he could just like take a poop, he'd feel so much better. So I don't know if you got like some constipation issue going on that's keeping you from being vibrant and fully yourself. I hope not. But you are definitely holding on. The large intestine in Chinese medicine is all about transformation. And so if in Chinese medicine you're constipated, it means you're holding on to something, or that's one of the interpretations. So ERRT Radio, what are you holding on to? And the way out of that is for you to nurture yourself. Okay? And happy Thanksgiving. All right, let's see. And we have Marco 2465. So it's a new and improved Marco. Hey, Marco. It says, Rita upvoted, Ronald stop hitting. Hey. And Ohora's here. Hey, Ohora. Okay, everybody's got new names today. All right. All right. Okay, ERRT Radio, I need for you to do upper and lower cases. Marco says, where are you? I'm right here, Marco. Wave Lady number 1. Good evening, Dr. Rita. How W? Okay, I don't know what that is. Oh, there she goes. How about a number 2? You sure can, Wave Lady. And I'm not recognizing your name. So if you're a new person here, welcome to the show, and I'm glad you stopped by. And if you're an old person that's using a different handle, hello and welcome back. Uh-oh. Okay, Wave Lady, you got a mask card, which usually shows up when there's something you don't want to look at, or there's a blockage, or there's some denial going on. And I am just going to pull cards. All right. Okay. So there were quite a few cards that came up, but that is the final card where I really felt the energy shift. And it's interesting because a lot of the cards really had to do with like pain and punishment and uh, fighting and kind of beating yourself up. Um, the biggest thing that I'm getting is that there is someone or you need to cut out of your life and are afraid of letting go. I feel like by doing that, it will kind of put you inside and set you off on this transformational phase. But what you keep showing me is that on the other side, there will be a new and improved you that will. I get the impression that this is very old energy, like all of this stuff back here is old energy and that you've been carrying around, this baggage you've been carrying around for a very long time. And I'm not minimizing the fact that this could be a person or a situation that you keep participating in, because I'm not feeling like it's your own stuff, because if it was your stuff, I feel like you're wise enough to have dealt with it. If it was something that was internal to you, cut the tie. You will be happy. It's going to take you a little bit to get through it, but you will be happier. Okay. Okay. And it's Amy O 709. Everybody's got weird names today. Hi, Dr. Rita. Happy Thursday. May I have a number 3 tonight, please? Thank you. You sure can, Amy O 709. You and Marco are like almost twins. He's Marco 2465. All right, Amy, let's see what they got for you today. Okay, and that's your card for today. So, Amy, I get the impression that there was something, I don't even want to say going on in your life, something that you had not really been paying attention to at all, very much. I'm going to say at all, you know, because it really wasn't anything that was in your face and, you know, that needed your energy. But I feel like it's kind of like jumped up out of the background and bit you. And now you're having to look at it and deal with it and address it. I mean, I'm kind of feeling like there's a little bit of hurt feelings in this whole thing because it just seemed out of the blue. And what's interesting is that even though like it's not really being fun right in this moment, that there's a deeper recognition that it needed to happen and the unsaid has been revealed and you're going to move past it really quick. You know, but now you know. Now you know. And so you can just kind of take that off your plate. I feel like you have very strong boundaries around it. I feel like whatever happened was very inappropriate and you're not accepting and, you know, forgiving in a place where you are going to allow that to happen again. I mean, unless it comes from left field and come back in. So in the big picture, I feel like, you know, it's good, even though it might be a little uncomfortable right now. Cool. Curious to know what that one's about. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, so Yvonne, is that you? What does everybody got like weird names today? I'm assuming that's you, Yvonne. Hopefully that's you, Yvonne. And you wanted number 2. So I'm just going to say Yvonne. If you're not Yvonne, oops. Okay, and that's your card for today. And what they're saying to me is do it. Do it. I get the impression that there's something you want to move forward on. I feel like there's some, not a lot, but some indecision on whether you should go for it or not. They're saying do it. It is more just your fear kind of keeping you from taking that step forward. But I get the impression that this is something that's been kind of in play in your mind for a while, and it's ready to happen and it's ready to move forward. So maybe Yvonne, but go for it. All right. All right. It's Dawn. Hey, Dawn. It says, hi, Dr. Rita. I'm here. Can I get a number 1 reading? You sure can, Dawn. Ooh. All right. That's your card for today. And let's see, Dawn. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. So, Dawn, I feel like you are being the observer. I feel like there's like this negative, vibey energy around you. And in the past, you would just like, right, be in the middle of it and be vibing in that negative energy and get sucked into it. And I feel like you are just kind of standing off to the side and looking at it and observing it and not getting into it, which it feels kind of weird, but I want to say yay, congratulations, because you're not being affected by the energy around you, at least not in this situation. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable if you are interacting with or in a situation where you're around a bunch of negative energy. You know, it's okay to not feel good, you know, or have it be weird or have it be uncomfortable. It's not an abnormal thing to occur. So good job. Good job. You know, and as always, I always love hearing your comments about what's going on and, you know, whether I'm hitting or not. And if I am, I would love it if you would go and leave me a little something, something in the tip jar. If you go to soulhealer.com and across the top, there's a link that says Dr. Rita Live, and it'll take you to the tip jar. And you can leave me something in PayPal or use the online shopping carts and, you know, show your appreciation for the work that I'm doing. Okay, let's see. Hey, Pierre, nice to see you. And then Kimmy Hicks says, 100% true. I did that and wish I didn't take it. So, Kimmy, I'm going to make the assumption that you took the HRT with the synthetic hormone and that you wish you didn't. But then again, Kimmy, I'm going to read that statistic back that, hang on one second, if I can find it, because of course I never can find anything when I'm looking for it. You know, and I had this like totally marked. You know, but the vast majority of women, that the baseline risk of an average 50-year-old woman is approximately 2.5 chance of developing breast cancer. And so what that meant was, I think out of 15 million people, 48,000 women would develop breast cancer by themselves. And so I'm not minimizing that it was possibly hormone replacement therapy that brought on the breast cancer, but it might not have either. So just saying. Mark Eddie. Hey, Mark Eddie. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving. Long time no see. Okay. So Kimmy's back. After breast cancer, I switched to keto, then carnivore diet. No problems with sleep from then on post-menopausal. Cool, Kimmy. You know, I'm a big advocate about diet and exercise, that there are so many things that we can keep in remission, you know, including diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, and many pieces to many debilitating diseases just by cleaning up our diet and primarily getting rid of the junk, getting rid of the sugar, getting rid of the chemicals that is common in today's American diet. Amy says organic wild yam cream is my preference and it's very inexpensive. So Amy, the nucleotide, whatever, is primarily wild yam. I did look that up. I should put that in that article, but I didn't. Anyway, let's see. Ohura says, hello, Dr. Rita. Thank you very much for the talk. It was very helpful to hear it from you as a wise, trustworthy, and knowledgeable source. May I have your revelation on number 3? Thank you and cheers. You sure can, Ohura. Okay, and that's your card for today. All right, and I'm going to turn this down because it's big. All right, so Ohura. So Ohura, I feel like, you know, your energy is reminding me a little bit of Dawn's, that there's a lot of stuff going on around you. But the cool thing is that you're holding steady. I'm not noticing as much the observer role, although there is that too. But what you're showing me is that you're holding steady and you're not allowing things going on in your life to shift you around, to move you around, to leave you feeling like you're drowning. You know, I feel like you are really grounded right now. And so, you know, a hurricane could come through and it's not going to knock you over, you know, because you have really deep roots happening. So whatever you're doing, good job and keep it up. Okay. And then Kimmy says our bodies don't like synthetic fake. No kidding. And then Mr. BS Truth Seeker 135. That's quite the name. So I'm just going to call you Truth Seeker. Says, hi, Dr. Rita. And then we have Low T5X. Okay. Hi, Dr. Rita. Can I ask for a reading? Thank you. I appreciate it. I am choosing 1. Low T5X, number 1 for you. And Mr. Truth Seeker and Low, welcome to the show. I don't recognize your name. Same with you, Kimmy. I really appreciate you being here. Oop, I did 2. Well, you're going to have 2 because I did 2. And I hope that you keep coming because I always like seeing new faces. Okay, so Low, that's your card for today. Okay, so Low, I get the impression that, how do I want to say this? That there are things going on inside of you that you would like to have come out into the world. And there's just a lot of dynamic. starting with your second chakra, which is in the baby making machinery, and working its way up. I feel like you have this desire, and it's putting this burning into your third chakra, and you know it's what you want to do, and then it's getting up to your fifth chakra, which is kind of tied to manifestation into the physical world. I mean, there is manifestation through the first chakra, but then there's manifestation from a creative way or from an auditory way. And I feel like this wants to come out of you, you know, and it's not, or it's stuck. And so I want to give you the heads up, or give you the permission, or validate that there is something in you that you want, and you are choosing to not let it come out, even though it's something that you really want. And it's interesting because what I kind of looked at something else real quick. I feel like there's some fear from the people around you that what you want to create would be somehow diminished. And please don't let other people's thoughts and energies and comments inhibit you from allowing what this is to come up and out of you. And then Kimmy's back. Breast cancer is a very profitable industry. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Dawn says, I'm kind of glad that I was divorced from both of my exes before having to be around them with that. Yeah, probably smart. Mary, hey, Mary, says, hi, Dr. Rita. It's been a minute. I made it for part of your program tonight. So glad to have made it. Mary, it is so nice to see you, and I'm glad to have you here. And I'm looking at the time, and if you'd like to get a reading, just post that below, and I will get you on, because there's not that much after I only have a few more to go. So Kimmy says, I'm happy sticking with the anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, no-carb diet. Cool. All right. Lady Spitfire, it's been a while. Number 2, you sure can. Okay, and that's your card for today. So Lady Spitfire, I feel like, and I know that this is intentional, that you have chosen, maybe not for forever, but for right now, to kind of withdraw your energy from the world. I mean, I get the impression that you're just really sensitive, and it doesn't feel good out there. And I don't mean like good outside of your house, but like good out there in general. You know, and it's interesting because I feel like it's giving you the opportunity to really work on the inside and work on, and the word that keeps coming up is loneliness, you know, that was an issue for you. And I feel like you've become quite happy and quite content with your own energy and with your own vibe. So congratulations on that, because it's challenging for a lot of people to get to that place where they can just be happy with themselves. So good job. All right. All right, everybody, we need to go to Don's house because he's not doing anything, not having any friends or family. I'm sorry, Don. You know, I don't have places to go every holiday, but I do for Thanksgiving. And so last year I had nothing. Well, no, the year before I had nothing going on for Christmas. And I was kind of being a little bit on my pity potty. And I decided that wasn't happening. And I went and I bought a brisket and I made a giant pot roast and potatoes. And I invited anybody that wanted to come over for dinner. And I made my own thing, and I had quite a few people come. So maybe, Don, you need to create your own thing. It's a thought. Oh, all right. So Wave Lady is Unar. Hey, Unar. What's with the weird names tonight? And then we have, all right, Calheely 09H. Again, if you're a regular person, hi. If you're a new person, welcome to the show. Says, hi, Dr. Rita. May I get a number 1, please? Nice to see you tonight. Thanks for the wisdom. Well, you're so welcome. Okay, so somebody explain to me what's going on with the YouTube names, because I am really thrown off. All right, so Kahili, that's your card for today. Okay, so Keely, I get the impression that there's a lot of, and I'm going to say, people vying for your attention, wanting for you to do this or wanting you to do that, and none of it's really sticking with you. Like, it's not feeling good or right. And, you know, obligation is jumping into the middle of it all. And I would like to suggest that you stop and take a breath and decide, what do you want? What is going to bring me joy as I move forward? And instead of getting clung up in doing these things or participating or interacting in ways that you don't want. Maybe you need to go to Don's house for Thanksgiving. It might be better than what you got going on. Anyway, that's my thing. Figure out what you want to do for you. All right. All right. All right. So we have Jasmine, Jazzy, Jazz. Hey, Jasmine, welcome to the show. You're a new name. Thanks for tuning in, and you sure can get a reading number 2. If I can get the cards to shuffle, it would be better. Okay, so Kimmy, and I'm looking at the time. Okay, there's still time. So Kimmy, the number means how many times you would like for me to shuffle the cards on your behalf. And you can put in a number between 1 and 3, not 5, not 7, 1 and 3. And I will shuffle them for you, that number on your behalf. All right, so Jasmine, that's your card for today. You know, it's interesting. I'm going to make this generalized statement. I feel like a lot of you guys have like Thanksgiving energy in your space. And it's kind of like, you know, either it's going to be good and fun and you're going to be around good people, or it's like, I just want to escape and I don't really want to go and participate. I just want to say hello to that energy. All right. So Jazzy, Jasmine, Jazzy, Jazz. Okay. So Jasmine, the first thing you're showing me is that you have kind of big energy. And with that big energy, I get the impression that it's not really grounded. I feel like when you make a decision, you make a decision, but the decision is coming more from your head and not from your heart. And I would like to offer you the suggestion of taking the thing and bringing it into your heart and grounding your body and noticing the difference between making a mental decision that may or may not work out and making a decision or from the heart, which when we make choices from that place, we're either congruent with it and in alignment with it, or we're not. So I would like to make that suggestion to you as you move forward in life. That and all kinds of tips every week here on Thursday Night Live. All right. It's Mike Harris. He says, if you could, I'd like a reading too. Please, I have today off. You sure can, Mike. And I'm just going to do a number 2 for you because we are getting close on time. Okay. All right. And that's your card for today. Okay, I'm thinking, actually, I'm trying to feel, so Mike, I'm kind of sensing some sadness around you. I'm sensing some loss. You know, almost like there's a hole in your space that used to be filled with, you know, I'm going to say somebody else's energy. So I don't know if you just experienced a breakup or you changed jobs, lost your job, and, you know, now you're home. But I feel like it feels pretty fresh. I feel like you haven't done much to cope with it. You know, and if the loss is lost, then it's okay to be sad and upset. And it's not something that you need to be big and stoic about. So even if you have to go in the bathroom and cry, that's okay, to just let that out, because I am feeling again that there's pain there that I don't want to say you're holding on to, but you are working on processing right now. And that's okay. That's okay. You know, I just want to say I'm going to send some healing energy your way. And I hope you work through it very quickly. And I think you will. I don't think this is something you're going to be hanging on for the next 30 years or something. So that's good. All right, Kimmy. Yay, number 1. That's a great question, ERT Radio, and I will have time to answer your question. Okay, so Kimmy, number 1, and that's your card for today. And again, you guys, any feedback, I would love to get some from you today, or a little something in that tip jar, soulhealer.com. All right, Kimmy. So, Kimmy, I get the impression that you have been on a really, I don't want to say strange journey, empowering journey. I get the impression that it's been going on for a very long time. I feel like the person you are today is not really like the person that was here 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I feel like you've really come into your strength. I feel like you've really come into your power. I feel like you went through yet another door fairly recently. And so it's a little bit warbly right now, but that will straighten itself out as well. I do feel like you've made a commitment to yourself that you are not going back to that scared person that was here before, because you have found yourself, you maybe found your voice, and you're not going back. So yay, yay. All right, so ERRT Radio says, I saw some medical reports about men getting breast cancer. How is this possible? Okay, so I can't give like an exact answer, but there are, they put hormones in the animals. If they consume a lot of soy products, there's estrogen in that. I mean, so we're constantly being bombarded with hormonal. That could be something that causes the development in men. Sorry about that. I mean, it's pretty rare, but it does happen. It really does happen. And depending on, hormones are very delicately balanced. Again, have not researched this at all. So I'm just kind of making this up a little bit. But if there is an imbalance between, because men have estrogen in their bodies, just like women have testosterone in their bodies, but it's just small amounts. But if the balance between testosterone in men and estrogen in men is out of balance, I mean, I know that in women it's supposed to be estrogen, progesterone, and there should just be like a little smidge of testosterone in there. And if you have too much, it will knock everything out of balance. And so I could see if that ratio between testosterone and estrogen in men is off balance, that they could develop an issue like that. That would make sense to me. All right. Don says, yes, Dr. Rita, you are just about on it. There has been some very negative vibes around me, but I've not let it get to me. Good job there, Don. And then Amy says, thank you for the reading. Yes, had to strongly enforce my boundaries with my son who is coming back soon. Spot on. He apologized today, heading to the tip jar. Thank you, Amy, and I love you, and happy Thanksgiving. Hey, Eric. Wow, nice to see you. I only got a minute, so don't ask for a reading because I'm almost done. Then Lady Spitfire says, whoop, whoop. Let's see. And then Low T5X says, what? Oh, wow, Dr. Rita, that was very accurate. I wonder if I can explore this with you further in a personal session. I've been feeling that for a long time. And yes, I know what others' projection. So yes, Low T5X, you can go to my webpage, soulhealer.com, and drop me, use the contact form. Okay, use the contact form and drop me a note, and we can set up a time for a private consultation. So yes, very much so. All right, and I totally lost my spot. All right, there you go. So, okay, thank you. Stop it. All right, that should fix it. All right, so let's see. Okay, so there you are. All right. So Wave Lady says, thank you for my reading. Very cool. You sure are welcome. Okay, so Michelle is here. She says, first time here, would love a reading. And so Michelle, the show starts at 7 Central and ends at 8. So I'm just about to sign off. I would love to give you a reading, but you need to come back. I would say next week, but it's Thanksgiving. So in 2 weeks, come a little earlier. I would love to get to you and do a session. And then Lady Spitfire says, yes, people asking me to go places. I'd rather be alone these days. Right on. Excellent. Okay. So Kahula says, I'm a return viewer, totally arbitrary. Pick this YouTube name. You're so welcome. ERRT Radio says, great show and topic as always. Thank you, Dr. Rita. And I have no answer for my stomach issue, but thanks for the reading. Okay. And then Kimmy said, this is great advice for everyone. Metal yellow, first red. Okay. All right, Mike, I already did you. All right, guys. All right, O'Hora says, Dr. Rita, reading was accurate as always. I have a lot of fear, and I'm glad that you told me I will be fine and there's not any danger. Bless you. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. All right, guys, I am going to go because it's time to go and do that and do that. But before I do, don't forget, if you would like to set up a time for a private consultation, stop at my webpage, soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com, and set up a time for a private consultation. So until then, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. Next week is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I will see you back in 2 weeks. Till then, be blessed.